Number 5, this is proposition number 5. Only the end justifies the means, nothing else. Not any old end will justify any old means, but even a pearl of great price, whatever it is, may be sold for love's sake. Okay? Of course, you're going to respond with Proverbs 23:23. You're going to say, well, buy the truth and sell it not, right? But, really, even a pearl of great price may be sold for love's sake. Since nothing is either intrinsically good or intrinsically evil, what is sometimes good may at other times be evil, and what is sometimes wrong may sometimes be right, when it serves a good enough end, depending on the situation. Isn't it true that surgeons have to mutilate bodies sometimes to remove cancers? The end justifies the means. Mutilations, you think is wrong, but it can have a good purpose. Nurses lie to schizophrenics to keep them calm for treatment. Do they not? Anybody here in the nursing field want to confirm that? You have to lie to your patients. Keep them calm. And Paul says himself, all things are lawful, but not all things are expedient. Meaning that what makes the thing good is not whether it's lawful, but whether it builds up, whether it's edifying. Here's an example. There's a wilderness trail. Back in the old days of the wagon trains. Along the Wilderness Road, or Boone's Trail, in the 18th century, westward through Cumberland Gap to Kentucky, many families and trail parties lost their lives in border and Indian warfare. Compare 2 episodes in which pioneers were pursued by savages. Okay, first episode. A Scottish woman saw that her suckling baby, ill and crying, was betraying her and her 3 other children and the whole company to the Indians. But she clung to her child, and they were caught and killed. Okay. Episode number 2. A Negro woman, seeing how her crying baby endangered another trail party, killed it with her own hands to keep silence and to reach the fort. Which woman made the right decision? Sometimes the ends justify the means. Okay? And then the 6th proposition. Love's decisions are made situationally, not prescriptively. You have to make the decisions that you do, not just based on some formula, but it depends on the situation. That's how you make decisions. Decisions must not be made according to law or predetermined rules, but according to the situation. What's the loving thing to do in each situation? I'm going to read to you something here. What Jesus said about sex. We find nothing in the teachings of Jesus about the ethics of sex except adultery and absolute condemnation and divorce, correlative manner. He said nothing about birth control, large or small families, childlessness, homosexuality, fornication or premarital intercourse, sterilization, artificial insemination, abortion, sex play, petting, and courtship. He said nothing about that. Why are you guys all wrought up about that? Whether any form of sex, hetero, homo, or auto, is good or evil depends on whether love is fully served. You see? To learn love's sensitive tactics, people are going to have to put away their childish rules. Those rules that you have, they're childish. Is adultery wrong? Well, to ask this is to ask a mare's nest question. It's a glittering generality like Oscar Wilde's Mackerel in the Moonlight. It glitters, but it stinks. One can only respond, I don't know. Maybe. Give me a case. Describe a real situation. So, what's your response? I've made the case for situation ethics. You base your decisions on the ethic of love. And it just depends on the situation. How would you respond?
Well, I think as a Christian, you would still hold the Christ's perspective. I think that's probably the greatest difference is no matter the situation, we are the ones calculating. And so our calculations must be based on the precepts of God's Word. And I think that that's the difference. Granted, sometimes we will make mistakes, but I think that as a Christian, your decisions must be influenced by what God says and by what God desires.
Okay.
I mean, we may not score at all times, but at least that's the driving force.
Okay, good. Megan?
Well, was basically what he's saying.
Say it more.
That, as Christians, we are to live by the principles of God's Word, which are timeless, and for all generations and cultures. And in each situation, with the mother and her child, God's Word says, "Do not kill." He doesn't say, unless it's for this, or that. And I believe, trusting in God to help you in those situations. That's the glorious thing about being a Christian, is that we have a God bigger than our problems, who can take us through situations, and living by His principles that He gives us is our duty, to obey them regardless of what might happen, because God's laws are good. In a situation, something may end up bad, but God gives us those laws and principles for a purpose.
Good answer.
A couple things. Like with the second proposition, the supposed conflict between law and love. You didn't interact at all with Jesus' statements about the law, about how He hasn't come to abolish the law, or about how not one jot or tittle is going to be removed from the law. And so, if you're going to make that case, explain why love replaces or supersedes the law, as if a person could be loving without the laws. And secondly, something that this class has really helped me factor into ethical decisions. I guess in the past I haven't really thought about the fact that we don't actually know what will happen in the future. It's only guesswork. And we don't have a sense perception of future events. And so if we're going to take an ends justifies the means approach, then how do you know what end is going to come about? We don't. It's just fancy guesswork.
That's good. Okay, well, next time we meet, I'm going to give you a list of objections to what I just said. A lot of what I just said, although that one part about the ladder of love and then some of that altruistic ethic, I mean, that's actually pretty good stuff.